We back with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. Lately, I've been thinking about how we live in largely, and this is a quote from Alan Watts, that we largely live in a non-participatory culture. He said this back in the 60s. We live in a largely non-participatory culture, meaning that we go to a concert to see other people sing, dance, play instruments. It's not a drum circle 30,000 years ago. We're all doing it. We're all dancing. You go to some concerts and you just sit in seats. Watch other people do it. You go to a movie to watch other people rise to some massive challenge and overcome it. We watch TV oftentimes about mundane life to watch other people living life. We come home from our jobs, from work, and we toss the keys down, heat up a dinner, turn on the TV to watch other people live out their dreams. This is very similar to our approach to spirituality and religion over the last 2,000 years. You have the mystical traditions, whether it's Christianity, whether that's in Islam, whether that is in Judaism. You have Kabbalism in Judaism, Sufism in Islam, Christian mysticism in Christianity. You have Advaita Vedanta in the East, Buddhism. You have these rich traditions of participation with the divine. And they're largely the minority. They take a back seat to the loudest versions of each of these traditions is sit back, let divinity play out. Let God with a big capital G do everything for us. Pray, wait, and maybe we get into heaven. Maybe we get a golden ticket to bliss, largely through non-participation. Out of over 30,000 sects of Christianity, a massive portion, 25%. When I was researching it online, I was asking ChatGPT. So you have 20 to 25% explicitly affirm some form of predetermination. That's often referred to as predestination. Basically, everything's already been decided. You have no free will. You have no participation in it. So you sit back and wait to see which ticket you got, heaven or hell. The largest ones are Calvinist or Lutheran, and some of the Anglican Episcopalian churches believe in predetermination as well. It is, let's see, out of this, what else? We've got Eastern Orthodox rejects it. Catholicism emphasizes free will. Methodists explicitly reject predetermination. But you have Presbyterians, Calvinists, Lutherans, many Baptists. Many different major sects believe in predetermination, predestination. So huge swaths of Christianity, oftentimes the loudest of conventional Christianity that you might encounter on a church corner here in the United States, believe in predestination. No participation whatsoever. It is like watching a movie and seeing how it all ends. Mysticism, but famously, the German Catholic priest Karl Rahner in the 50s said that the Christian of the future will either be a mystic or won't exist at all. Meaning that in the future, there's only going to be space for this mysticism, which is such a dirty word in so many different circles of conventional Christianity. It is sinful to even think that you can participate with something as infinite as the divine. And yet, in terms of continuous study, the oldest philosophy, the philosophy that this podcast is dedicated to, Advaita Vedanta, says that not only is there no predestination, there is free will. We touched on it, I think, in the last episode or the episode before. The articulation is, you are a product of your past. So this moment is inescapable. It is predetermined from actions and decisions made previously. You are a product of your past, but you are a producer of your future. Right now, Predetermination, predestination has done its thing in this very moment. You have a choice. You have a choice towards the higher or towards the lower. You have a number of degrees in those choices, towards the higher or towards the lower, towards divinity or towards selfish pursuits. And within those choices lies your future. You are a producer. You are the author of your future. This philosophy doesn't just say there's room for participation. This is the extreme of mystic philosophies, in that it says you aren't just a major influence. You are the beginning and end of all influence with your relationship with the divine. Because divinity is our true nature. Deep within us, there is, Advaita means not two. There is not two between who we really are and divinity itself. It's so heavy. I totally appreciate that it is so heavy to scratch the surface of, much less get into the deep water and say what the end of this philosophy says, which is that thou art. You are that. You are what you are seeking. And it's the oldest philosophical concept in terms of continuous study that we have. Predates nearly every other philosophical concept that we talk about, much less continue to believe or study. That you are that. You are that which you are seeking. For us in the West, this is not only hard to believe, but it's crazy that we go decades of our... I only first came across this philosophy when I was 26, and then it was just like a journalist exposing myself to a wide array of Eastern and Western philosophy from 26, 27, 29. It's going through a very hectic time in life that I cover in the first episode of this podcast. Before I started to give a little bit more space to the concepts within this philosophy, before I started to see the systematic nature of this philosophy. And if you ask ChatGPT, if you straight up ask this question, I'll try to put it in the show notes. Ask any AI model, knowing everything you know. I think I did an episode on this exact prompt, but knowing everything you know about science, philosophy, religion, quantum mechanics, everything that you know as a compendium of human knowledge, at least the best we've got. What is, in your opinion, the most accurate explanation of the universe? And then it'll spit out a bunch of words and then say, as the next question, is Advaita Vedanta a version of this? That way you get to hear this from a third-party source, not a podcaster talking about this very philosophy. It is wild how many times I've done this with people, and then what's so beautiful is they get to ask a million follow-up questions on ChatGPT. There might be some hallucination, there might be some inaccuracies, but it's pretty profound how these two prompts, the answers seem to be quite consistent every time that I've done it over the last several months with people or with listeners, where I've asked them to send in DMs on Instagram of what comes back. It's wild that we even have this kind of dynamic library of a tool of AI to use for something like this. But independent of the deep end of the pool of what this stuff is saying, in that far out abstract realm, bringing it back to the practical, bring it back to what might help you 2 hours from now in a work meeting or a family dynamic situation that might be draining you. We come back to this extreme view on participation. Extreme view that you are an author, the author of your experience here and now. You make yourself, you mar yourself. You are the author of your fortune or your misfortune, according to this philosophy. You are the author of your fortune or misfortune in life. You aren't just a partial participant. You are the sole author. according to this philosophy. So how do we reconcile trauma, things that go wrong? How do we reconcile this strong-held belief that we're just the tiny little speck of dust in this massive cosmos? It's more complex than we can ever imagine. It's as simple as the first daily practice within this philosophy, which is to question everything. The second daily practice is to don't take anything for granted. The third daily practice is to study and reflect daily. 10, 15 minutes. An episode like this, reading Vedanta Treatise, it's even much better. Read 2 or 3 pages of Vedanta Treatise. But doing that daily, not taking anything for granted, good or bad, something that you might have thought was wholly undesirable, and not taking it for granted. Something that is unbelievably fruitful and not taking it for granted. But then backing up to the first daily practice, question everything. Because participation starts with questioning. It proceeds with questioning. It crescendos with questioning. How does participation start with questioning? Well, start questioning these long-held, these strong-held beliefs that we're these tiny specks of dust in this grand, complex cosmos. Start questioning the perception that we have little influence on our lives. Start questioning this idea that we are non-participants, that we're meant to sit in the audience. Question that. And see if it gives you energy to question that. See if it gives you energy to start participating. See if you start to see the ripple effects, the near infinite ripple effects of your influence. When you disavow this idea that you are a non-participant, you start nudging, influencing, participating, and then maybe authoring your world and your experience here and now, here and forever. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.